Alright, what's up? I kind of skipped the intros there, but let's get right into it. This is post-fight thoughts on the actual fight between Volk and Makhachev. And we're going to watch and see also what happens on this one right now. So, oh look, Volk going for a takedown. That actually did happen in the fight, but man, it was an interesting fight. I'm not looking at a scorecard, so I'm not going to debate which round and which, etc. But a lot of things went as expected, some didn't. So obviously Makhachev had the advantage in takedowns. I think it was 4-7. That's pretty expected, right? But what I think was unexpected, considering the size disadvantage in terms of, a lot of guys can go up in a weight class if they have a bigger frame. Volkanovski is not a... This is hilarious that he is dominating the ground right now. Oh my goodness, so he's not a big guy in terms of frame, like not long. It's not like you looked at him and thought, oh, he should add weight and go up a weight class. But he did surprisingly well in terms of being able to get up off the ground when he was taken down. Oh, there we go. And also to just straight up defend takedowns and, reverse some positions, grappling against the fence, which is pretty interesting. What I found most interesting, and what I always find interesting in the scoring of these types of fights, is how do judges value positional control? How do they value takedowns? Because a 4-7 advantage in takedowns, I think that makes, I think that's very significant in the scoring overall in terms of who won a round, if it's close. But you still have to look at, overall striking in terms of offense and defense landed. So if a guy gets a guy down and then he's threatening multiple submissions, I think that's... I don't think takedowns in itself should win a round if someone doesn't do something with it. That being said, I do think the takedowns and some of the damage he landed on the feet did win Makhachev 2, at least, and maybe 3 rounds. The tough thing is Volk definitely won the 5th round. That was not in any way a 10-8. So if he went in down, he could still have been, he still could have lost the decision. But if we went into that 5th round and said, whoever takes this round takes the match, obviously Volk won the 5th. Now it's hard to see some guy win the 5th round, get a knockdown, right? It's kind of the most decisive moment of the fight so far, to be a knockdown and then be landing ground and pound at the end, right? On top of the guy who's supposed to be on top of him because of the size advantage. So it was very interesting to see that. And I have a hard time with decisions when a guy has a pretty heavy statistical advantage in strikes landed, both significant and overall strikes, if you're counting takedowns, because a takedown itself, like we were saying, doesn't cause damage. It does control the position of the fight. So it's like there's we'll say 2.5 minutes at the end of one round where Makhachev had Volkanovski on the ground. He had his back. He was up against the fence. And I think Volk threw like 20 to 30 punches, while Makhachev, I think, threw like 3 to 4 at most. He almost threatened a rear naked choke, but nothing was that close either. So I have a hard time scoring that as 2.5 minutes for Makhachev, just because he had him in a disadvantageous, or like in an advantageous position for himself. So it's really hard to score that. That being said, the decision going to Makhachev is probably not, like, I don't think it's that crazy. It's just a matter of two things for me. It's hard to see the guy win the fifth decisively and land more damage overall, I think, in terms of significant strikes. And he was never in, you know, in huge risk of submission. So, like, it's hard for the decision to go against that guy just because of positional control time. Especially because if we're talking control time on the feet, Makhachev was fighting on the feet as the counter fighter, counter puncher, counter striker. So he was not controlling the time on the feet. He was not instigating the action on the feet. So I don't know. I had the decision going to Volkanovski, but I felt like it could have gone either way. I question how strongly the judges sometimes score positioning in terms of just like grappling against the fence or on the ground. And then I don't like the 49-46. I don't think a 49-46 makes sense there, in my opinion, although a lot of the rounds were close. So if you disagree on some sort of small thing, like how you score time on the ground just because of position, not because of striking, then obviously, you know, then you could have a vastly different score than me. But my thought is, like, you wouldn't score like that on the feet, which obviously it's very different, but if someone has some, you know, the one guy up against the fence and therefore it's positional advantage, but the other guy lands more, that doesn't go to the guy who has the positional advantage. But wrestling, ground and pound, that's obviously very different than just having a guy against the fence. If you have somebody's back, you know, that's definitely something. But I just think you have to do something with it. That's my biggest opinion, is 2.5 minutes of having somebody's back. If they throw more strikes than you and you threaten no serious submission, I don't think you should be getting the round solely based on that. I think the striking should be valued on the ground if the guy who's in the bad position is throwing strikes. Even though a lot of like what Volk was landing then was not, you know, it wasn't causing serious damage. But he's the only guy really trying to initiate the fight at that point. Makhachev was just simply really holding on to him to keep the position, right? He's not trying to win the fight there, he's trying to keep the position. I think if somebody's landing, then they should be getting at least even value at that point. I'm really interested to see what other people think. I don't think in any way you should say that Volkanovski was robbed. I don't think this fight should really like devalue either one of these guys. It was a great fight. But yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I was incredibly impressed with Volk's stamina, having added weight to go up a weight class, and also his ability to defend takedowns. But additionally, I was pretty impressed with Makhachev on the feet. he's so able to threaten takedowns that really he can catch you with some quick punches, right? When you're worried about him going for takedown, and he's pretty smart with when he throws kicks and as well as punches. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought it was a really interesting fight. Obviously, if Makhachev can get a knockdown and a submission on Oliveira, you knew he was pretty legit. Now, this is going to be just as hard to score as the actual fight. So let's see what the judges did on this one.
John, he used his best weapons in order to carry him to a decision.
I like how they say that fighter, and you're like, who are you guys talking about?
By this young fighter.
Young fighter.
The official decision is in. Here's Bruce.
Who do you guys think it's going for?
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3
But yeah, let me know your thoughts, and please subscribe if you want to hear more on future fights. Oh, so Alex wins this one. Maybe that's the next fight. When I simmed it last time, Makhachev won. I'd love to see a rematch. But yeah, if you like this, please subscribe. I'll post more of these. If it's something that people actually want to. Oh, the double champ. If that's something people want to see before and after some big fights, I enjoy it. I like just, talking about it. I know I'm not necessarily, I would say, right or wrong. This is all just opinions and what I think, and I think it's fun to try to figure out how things will go and to see how they play out. It's my final thought on this is sometimes obviously it matters for money and for status for the fighters, but sometimes just watch the fight. It doesn't matter which way it goes for the judges. Like that was a really fun fight to watch. It was super entertaining. You got to see some interesting things play out, and that's what matters. Like that was a fun fight to watch. Doesn't really matter what the judge's decision was because it was super close, and people will get mad about it, but maybe that means we're gonna get to enjoy another one and see these guys fight again. So cheers, thank you so much. Have an awesome day. We'll be back on another one, and we'll see maybe Cyril Gane and John Jones or whatever the next biggest one is. But if you do want to see this particular one, I will sim it. I'll talk about it, and I'd love to converse with you guys on it. So comment with anyone's other fights coming up that you might want to see this about. Cheers.